Sky thing works, and if you have some sort of terminal illness or any disability that currently has no cure, and you have the option to be cryogenically frozen with the hopes that in the future the cure is invented and you could live again, would you do it? And a lot of people might say, yeah, why not? But think about this. Let's say all this does work and you're frozen, but the cure for your illness is not going to be created for hundreds of years. And finally in the year, I don't know, 2400, you wake up. Now you're hundreds of years into the future. Everyone you know has died. You have no idea how to use those 3 seashells in the bathroom, and you will now have to try to live in this society where you're basically Encino Man. And that's the best case scenario. Worst is somehow you wake up and this world is chaotic and now vampires rule the planet and they only woke you up so they could drink your blood. Okay, that probably wouldn't happen. But as much as I would love to know what the future is like, I don't think I could do this. I mean, what if everyone else is somehow genetically enhanced and they're all now smarter, stronger, and faster than you are, and you wake up in this society where you don't know anybody, you might not have any money, and you can't get a job because you don't have cyborg implants. Anyway, I'm thinking about all this because this past week there was a story of a 14-year-old girl who tragically died of cancer and has been cryogenically frozen in the hope that she can be woken up and cured in the future after winning a landmark court case against her own father right before she died. Basically, her parents are divorced and the mother wanted to follow the girl's wishes to be frozen, but the father didn't because he felt that she would be alone when she woke up. Also, the procedure is highly controversial and extremely expensive. So the girl asked a high court judge to intervene. The girl asked the judge to rule that her mother, who supported her desire to be cryogenically preserved, should be the only person allowed to make decisions about the disposal of her body. And to convince the judge, she even wrote this heartbreaking letter saying, "I think being cryopreserved gives me a chance to be cured and woken up. Even in hundreds of years' time, I don't want to be buried underground. I want to live and live longer, and I think that in the future they might find a cure for my cancer and wake me up." So shortly before her death in a London hospital, the judge granted her wish. Her body was frozen and taken to a storage facility in the US. And according to her mother, she passed very peacefully knowing that this procedure would take place. So very sad story, but I'm really glad that this girl got her wish at the end. But let's talk a little bit about how this whole cryopreservation thing works. First of all, the patient's gotta die. So once the patient is legally dead, the preservation process happens within 2 minutes of the heart stopping. The body is then packed with ice and injected with chemicals to prevent the blood from clotting. The body is then taken to a facility where the blood is replaced with solution to preserve the organs, and the body is chilled to right before freezing. After that, another solution is injected to prevent ice forming in the tissue and organs. Then the body is cooled to negative 202 degrees Fahrenheit. Then the body is placed inside a container and lowered into liquid nitrogen at negative 320 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's where the body is going to stay till hopefully one day a cure for their particular illness is created and then they could be revived. Of course, that's all in theory because many experts say this process is ridiculous and there is 0% chance that this will work because organs such as the heart and kidneys have never been successfully frozen and then thawed, so it's even less likely that a whole body, especially the brain, could go through that whole process without any damage. And if you really want to do this is not cheap. This procedure costs between $35,000 to $200,000. Now, my thoughts on this particular story is this. Do I think this procedure could work? I honestly, I have no idea. But if this was my daughter and she was terminally ill and she wanted this procedure done, then I would say yes to it in a second if it meant that it would give her some comfort in her last days. So I'm glad the judge ruled in her favor, and hopefully this process works and one day she can wake up and live a full and fulfilling life on a planet with no zombies and no vampires. Next up, tens of thousands of dead bunker fish have been found floating in a canal in Long Island, New York this past weekend. Nobody knows why. Authorities say that this was most likely caused by suffocation, which tends to happen when a lot of fish is trapped in a very small confined area. But I think this may be the beginning of the fish apocalypse, and I also wonder if they found like thousands of loaves of bread nearby. And finally, a major archaeological find was discovered at a rock shelter in remote South Australia when Aboriginal elder Clifford Colthard came across it when he got out of his car to pee or poo. Basically, he needed to go and found the proof that Aboriginal people settled in inland areas as far back as 49,000 years ago. Remnants of plants and bones were among the 4,300 artifacts uncovered at the site, which proves that Australia's first inhabitants lived in the country's harsh interior 10,000 years earlier than previously suggested. But what still remains a mystery is whether or not Clifford finally found a place to pee. Alright guys, so in this video we covered a girl's legal battle to have her body cryogenically frozen. The fish apocalypse may be here, and it's a good thing to pee in new and unexplored locations. Alright, thank you all so much for watching. See you. Hey, it's Mikey Chen. Let me ask you guys, let's say the whole vanilla sky thing works, and if you have some sort of terminal illness or any disability that currently has no cure, and you have the option to be cryogenically frozen with the hopes that in the future the cure is invented and you could live again, would you do it? And a lot of people might say, yeah, why not? But think about this. Let's say all this does work and you're frozen, but the cure for your illness is not going to be created for hundreds of years. And finally in the year, I don't know, 2400, you wake up. Now you're hundreds of years into the future, everyone you know has died, you have no idea how to use those 3 seashells in the bathroom, and you will now have to try to live in this society where you're basically Encino Man. And that's the best case scenario.